Expertisa is an open source project that can be used to manage courses. These courses contain assignments which are given to students, and once the students finish their work, it is reviewed by other students. Instructors must then assign grades to the feedback given based on if the review is positive while also being critical. Our team was assigned a project which will aid instructors in the process of grading reviews by automatically analyzing each of the comments in the response and determining if the feedback is mostly positive, mostly negative, or neutral. We will accomplish this via tone analysis of the comments. Now this will involve a separate application which will process each of the comments and assign a value to it based on the tone of the comment. The value assigned is called a sentiment value. Once a sentiment value is determined, we will color code each of the comments shades of red, yellow, and green to reflect their respective tones. For mostly negative feedback, we will show the color as red. For positive feedback, green, and neutral feedback, yellow. Implementing a tone analysis app would require a significant amount of work on its own, so we decided to use the services of PeerLogic. PeerLogic is an NC State-based web app service that offers two services which we will use via REST API calls. The first service is the sentiment analysis, to which we will send the text of comments and our returned sentiment values for each of the comments. The second service involves visualization, where we will send the text of the comments along with the sentiment values, and PeerLogic will generate URLs to view the content as a chart. Now let's take a look at how these work within Expertisa. You can access the first service via the summary link on the review scores page for each assignment. Looking at the summary page, you can see that we have taken each of the reviews and added color coding to represent the sentiment values received from PeerLogic. In this case, darker shades of green indicate that the review had mostly positive feedback, and darker shades of red or orange indicate mostly negative or critical feedback. Ideally, good responses will be yellow or slightly green since we want there to be both positive and critical feedback within the responses. So now let's look at the code. The View Review Scores pop-up is the method that gets called when the page is loaded, and you can see that the responsibilities of this method revolve around setting up variables and calling delegate methods. Of course, the more interesting method is that of the Build Tone Analysis report, where you can see that we separate each of the responses by round and build the parameters for the REST API call to PeerLogic. We then send a post request containing our data to PeerLogic and are returned the sentiment values for each of the comments. These get placed into an instance variable to be shared with the view. Looking at the view for this page, you can see that we are taking that data and coloring each of the boxes based on if their sentiment value falls within a certain range. For example, you can see that we assign a box a color of red if it falls between -1 and -0.5. Now let's take a look at the tone analysis chart. This can be reached via the tone analysis chart link under the metrics column for the View Review Scores page. The tone analysis chart shows a visualization with the same data as the sentiment analysis. With this chart, the instructor receives a more concise synopsis of the data. As you can see, this shows all the scores that a reviewer sent to a reviewee for each question. Also noticed, for text that gets cut off, you can hover over it to view the full text via a tooltip. Since the questionnaires are organized by rounds, we have reflected the different rounds via the use of tabs. The cutoffs for each of the values within a certain range are shown at the bottom, and just like the sentiment analysis, the darker shades of green indicate positive feedback, while red or orange indicates critical feedback. In the code for the tile chart, the process follows the same sort of procedure as the sentiment analysis. First, we build the parameters to send to the PeerLogic service for each round, then we send the data to the PeerLogic, except this time, instead of returning values, we returned URLs that contain the tile chart visualization. So let's look at the view for the chart. At the top of the file, you can see some JavaScript used to build out tabs for each of the rounds. And you can also see that we are showing the visualization via a formatted iframe. This iframe will scale to the size of the container each time based on the size of the device. We felt it is much more appropriate to simply show a view of the web page via iframe instead of trying to reconstruct the graph ourselves to help keep the code dry. In conclusion, we have simplified the instructor's interface to help with the grading of student feedback. This will allow instructors to get a better idea about whether the student's feedback is positive, negative, or both. Thank you.